Good morning. I'm Don Black, creator of Wikipedia and SacredHeart.com. So I know that yesterday I said I was going to move all these live videos over to the Wikipedia YouTube channel, and I still intend to do that. However, when I was setting up for this video, YouTube informed me that there's a 24-hour wait to do that. So I guess we wait another 24 hours or whatever to do that. We'll do that tomorrow. um, so also another issue I'm having is and I'm going to figure this out. It's a technical thing I'm going to have to deal with. Is I thought it would be cute to put up a new picture that I took that morning in the on the farm before each of our as the thumbnail for each of the videos. I'm sorry, my brain just left. I've already been up for several hours. If you don't know, I usually get up and do a lot of animal farm chores and then make breakfast and usually wash dishes, start laundry, clean a bathroom, all that good stuff before I sit down here to do this thing. And it's kind of nice, this sitting down thing. It's all right. So I thought it would be fun to take my camera, my phone out and take pictures while I was doing all that stuff in the morning, something cute or fun. Today I was going to post a picture of my garden, which is actually not looking cute or fun right now. My herb garden is looking pretty raggedy and awful, for being honest. But we're planning for it. It is frozen. The ground is frozen solid. There's even like frozen puddles in there because of the way the water drips off the roof. But yeah, YouTube tells me they're too big, and I'm looking at the size, and they're way too big. I'm not sure how to adjust that. That's a little research I'm going to have to do over the next couple of days. So I'm going to do that. Everything is a learning experience. And every day we're going to learn something new. But yesterday I filmed some of the process for germination testing my seeds, which is going to end up in a larger video, more organized, edited video at some point in time this week. By the end of this week, well, by the start of next week, I'll probably do it over the weekend. And I also posted a full schedule of chats and videos and streams for the rest of March, and you can see that the patrons have it on Patreon. Discord knows when their chats are scheduled, and then the full schedule is also posted on the Wikipedia community section of the Wikipedia page. So there's that. But let's get on. I talked for 4 minutes on not what we're here to talk about, which I hate it when people do that. So here I am doing the thing. So today I wanted to talk about how to decide what plants to plant in your garden. Not a conversation anybody had with me when I started gardening, and it might have. It's an important conversation, especially for a new gardener, because when you are starting gardening, growing whatever you're growing, whether you're growing vegetables or magical herbs or culinary herbs or medicinal herbs, when you start, you do not want to overwhelm yourself. You don't want to try to grow all the things right away. I'm gonna have to pause here a second. Just a second. We have cat issues again. Okay, I do apologize for that. So, um, we don't want to try to grow everything. You want to maybe come up with a short list of 5 to 10 plants to grow to start out with. And then every year, add a few if you've got the space. And when I talk about growing your garden, I'm not just talking about a plot outside. If you don't have a plot outside, then grow a garden inside. Get yourself some good sized pots. You can grow anything inside if you have a big enough pot. Um, and a sunny window. And if you don't have sunny windows, get grow lights. We'll be talking about grow lights next week. I think I'm pretty sure the grow lights are on the list next week. Um, so the first thing, assuming you're planting now, again, I'm assuming you're planting outdoors. No, that's the second thing. The first thing you want to do is think about the plants that you use most often. A lot of people, when they think about growing, especially when we're talking about herbs, they look at the catalog and they say, ooh, myself included, or maybe it's not a lot of people, maybe it's just me. They look at the catalog and say, ooh, this thing looks amazing. I have never used this before. I've used it a couple of times and I want to grow it so I can use it all the time because it's so great. It has all these medicinal properties, or it's delicious, or whatever. Definitely, you want to. So what happens is you get this plant, or you get some seeds, and you're growing it, and maybe you kill it. You'll kill plants. I kill plants all the time. It's just the thing that happens. Or maybe it does grow to maturity, and you just don't know what to do with it. Um, and that's fine. Or maybe you learn what to do with it, but that's fine. But what you're looking at there is a whole lot of work put into something that maybe might not be the greatest thing for you. Maybe you might not even like it when it's done. Um, so definitely you want to choose things that you already use, you already know are useful to you, you already know you like it. Um, a lot of people want to grow tomatoes. I always grow tomatoes. When I was growing up, I was growing tomatoes. My parents grew tomatoes. My grandparents grew tomatoes. Tomatoes were like the thing you grew in the garden. Um, when I was younger, I remember like people saying they didn't like tomatoes, and I just could not fathom the idea of not liking tomatoes. Tomatoes were delicious. We every year we grew them in the garden. We canned them. We made sauce. We had, I mean, my dad's garden even today is like 80% tomatoes. Um, because the tomatoes you get in the store are just not good. You can get nice tomatoes at the farmer's market in the summertime, but you can't get good tomatoes at the store. You can get good canned tomatoes, but not fresh. It's and the canned tomatoes that you can at home are often superior to the ones in the store too. Um, so if you want good tomatoes, you have to grow them yourself. I learned that early on, and growing tomatoes has just been a thing I always did, even when I didn't have space to grow anything else. I grew tomatoes because that was something that we used almost every day. We do use tomatoes almost every day, and or in the form of sauce or canned tomatoes or whatever. So I always grew tomatoes. Now, I didn't always have all the tomatoes I needed for the year. Obviously, if you just have like one big pot full of tomatoes, you're just going to have a bunch of tomatoes in the summer for salads, and that's great. Um, but anyhow, back to the point. You want to choose the plants you already use. So if you're growing for food, you want to grow your favorite foods. They will be better if you grow them at home. You will like them better. If you are a salad eater, grow lettuce. Growing lettuce is amazing. It grows so quickly. It grows great in a pot. It grows great in the ground. It doesn't like a lot of sunny heat. So in the winter or in the heat of the summer, you want to give it some shade or even bring it in a pot in the summer. But you will be amazed. I We love salads here, but it is so disappointing when we bring home a salad, we bring home lettuce and we cook it or not cook it. We prepare it into salads or we store it a little bit and within a day or two it has turned to slime. This does not happen with homegrown lettuce. You pick as much as you need for your salad that day. You make your salad, the rest of it's still growing. It's still growing, it's getting bigger. You just pick the outside leaves and that plant keeps going. I mean, there's really nothing more rewarding than growing lettuce. So easy, so quick. Much better than, I mean, much quicker and easier to grow than tomatoes. Um, and I came very late to growing lettuce. I only started growing lettuce about 3 years ago, and I'm just floored with how easy it is. Um, if you like radishes, also super easy to grow. A lot of people don't like them. Um, but again, if you're the only person in the house that likes them, then like growing that is a lot more. Oh no, it's more satisfying than going out and buying a bunch of radishes and having everybody else in the house. Nobody wants them, so you're only going to eat a couple a day. Um, but if you grow them yourself, it's amazing, and you might, convert some people because they taste really good. Um, and then as far as herbs for healing, for magic, for culinary use, again, look at what you already use. I know a lot of people use white sage. I prefer to use what I can grow in my garden. I use rosemary, thyme, garden sage, oregano, and basil a lot. Those are the herbs I use the most. I use a lot of garlic as well. Um, So again, just kind of make a short list. Go interview your family. Say, what are your favorite herbs? What are your favorite vegetables? Make a list. Now that it's possible you're not going to be able to grow all the stuff on the list. That's okay. We're going to whittle it down. Um, if you have a small space or you're growing in tomatoes, you're going to have to whittle it down anyway. If you're growing in tomatoes, if you're growing in containers, you're going to have to whittle it down anyway. Um, Next, you want to do a little research on those particular plants. You want to know if the plant you've chosen, first of all, is an annual, a perennial, or a biennial. Um, Most biennial herbs and vegetables are treated as annuals, so the biennial bit isn't that important. But let me explain. Annuals grow in one season and then they die. They grow, they produce their fruit, their seeds, and then they die. Lettuces are annuals. Tomatoes are actually perennial. I'm not sure all tomatoes are perennials, but I know at least the indeterminate ones are perennial. They grow, um, they will keep growing. They may not produce as well after a few years, but here in the Midwest, they're by October, they're dead. They're completely black. They're not coming back. It's all over um, because they can't handle any cold. So they're treated as an annual. They do produce their fruit in the first year. So that's fine. At the end of the first year, they die back. You have your fruit. Um, from what I understand, they in people who have grown them as perennials or attempted to, they didn't get as good crops in future years. Um, Talking about people I know that live in the South where they don't have a frost, so they are able to have their tomatoes not frost kill, but um, the mildew and stuff gets to them after a while. They're not. Uh, I don't think they're just. I just don't think they're bred to live that long. So after a while, they just start to fall apart anyway. Um, so most of your garden vegetables are going to be annuals. Your tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, okra. Um, those are your annuals. Your radishes, cabbages, lettuces. Actually, I'm going to take back cabbages. In my experience, the cabbages are biennial, as are the carrots, parsnips, but that doesn't matter because you're going to harvest them your first year. Although, if you leave some in the garden and let them go to flower and reseed, they flower like first thing in the spring, and the bees just love them. So that's a completely different topic. Don't worry about the biennials. Perennials. Now, your asparagus. Artichokes are perennials in the south, but in the north they're grown as annuals. Sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes are perennials. And then most of your herbs are going to be perennials as well. Basil's an annual, and uh, parsley is a biennial, so it is going to die in its second year, so you'll have to replace it. I just plant parsley, for a few years in a row, and then it starts to reseed itself and kind of do its own cycle. Sage is a perennial. Um, so again, you're going to divide up your annuals and your perennials in your head, and then you want to check your growing season. Um, How long is your growing season is your important question. Your first frost date and your last frost date is the dates you want to know. The first frost date is the first time on average that it freezes in your neighborhood, or that you have a frost in your neighborhood. The frost is going to kill off many of your animals' annuals, not all of them, but it will definitely kill off your tomatoes, your okra. Um, the peppers can often handle a frost, and so can eggplant, I find, if it's light enough. But your tomatoes, no. And then you want to know your last frost date. That is the last time on average that it freezes in your neighborhood. Where you can find that information is in an almanac, and there's several online almanacs, almanac.com, the New Farmer's Almanac, the Old Farmer's Almanac. I also like the website called davesgarden.com. It has a first and last frost date um, calculator. I find it to be a little bit generous. It says my first frost date is October 11th and my last is May 6th. I find it extremely dangerous to get my tomatoes in the ground before the last week of May. So, um, but your tomatoes don't like cold temperatures overnight. So, um, and peppers, although they can handle a bit of a frost at the end of the growing season, those are also perennials actually. At the end of the growing season, peppers can handle a bit of frost. In the beginning of the growing season, when they're babies, if they get some frost, they can get really stunted. It can affect like their whole life. I'm giving you way too much information. Now, once you want to subtract your last frost dates, which is in the spring generally, from your first frost dates. which is in the fall, and get your growing season. Then you want to look up the plant you're thinking about growing. And you want to look at the days to maturity date. If you're blind like me, you may need a magnifying glass if you're looking on the seed packets. But days to maturity. This one says days to maturity. Outdoors, 95 to 100 days. Indoors, 65 to 80. Very interesting. So this is from M.I. Gardner, and it's got lots of information on the back. I'll do a whole thing about reading seed packets. If you're on a website, it should also say days to maturity. You want to make sure your growing season is longer than your days to maturity date. If it is, then you can grow that plant in your garden. So put a little star next to it, circle it. That is your plants. If you're looking at an annual. If you are looking at a perennial, then you want to know your growing zone. Again, look on your almanac or contact your local extension. If you type in university, your state extension, at least in the US, the state universities have these agricultural extensions where they put out all sorts of agricultural information. They do lots of research at these universities, gather data. So definitely make use of that. Find out what your growing zone is. I am in zone 5, so I can grow plants that do well in zone 5. Your zone only matters for perennials. So if you're growing rosemary, which is a plant that comes back every year, if you are growing sage, another plant that comes back every year, you want to look in your growing zone. If you you look on the seed packet or you look on the tag if you're getting an already started plant. And if you are a beginner, I suggest for perennials that you get a plant that's already started. Or you can also look on the website on the information for that plant. It'll tell you what growing zones. It'll say like zone 3 to 6 or 3 to 7 or something like that. If your growing zone falls in there, you can grow that plant outside. If not, in the case of the annuals and the perennials, you can grow them inside, usually. Plants inside may need a little extra help. They may need grow lights. They may need watering more often. They may need repotting periodically. And that is just a little bit extra effort you'll have to put in, but it's definitely worth it. I keep basil and rosemary growing inside my house, as well as aloe. What else going on there? I have thyme and parsley, even though those grow outside just fine here. And lettuce. I keep lettuce growing inside my house as well as outside because I just like to have lettuce all the time. So in the deep winter, I can't grow lettuce. In the height of the summer, the lettuce is trying to make flowers. It's called bolting. So I grow some lettuce inside, so I always have some. So that's how you're gonna kind of whittle down your list. Sage, say if you want to grow sage. I'm not sure about white sage. It doesn't grow in my zone. So I really haven't paid much attention to it at all. It may grow inside, but I don't use it, so I'm not putting forth the effort. But I know garden sage needs a lot of space. It grows into like a woody bush after a while. You get those little windowsill herb gardens that has a little pot like this big and it's got sage seeds. That sage is going to get like this big. It's going to have a little woody stem. get a pot. Like, I mean, you can start it in the little pot, but you're going to repot it into a pot, a big pot. So keep that in mind. Rosemary can also get big. I repot rosemary a lot. I can't keep it living for more than 3 or 4 years. It is a perennial, but it's picky, a little bit delicate. My oldest child lives in Texas. They say that the sage grows like weed, or sorry, the rosemary grows like weed there. Yeah, lucky. My oregano grows like weed here, so. But definitely just step one, choose what you use the most. Take a survey of your household, see what they like the most. Step two, figure out how long your growing season is. If you're growing outdoors. Step three, figure out your growing zone. If you're growing outdoors, again, if you're growing indoors, then it doesn't matter. If you're growing indoors or outdoors, space is always going to be a concern. So you want to look again on your seed packet or on the tag on the plant that you're getting, or on the information, the growing information on the website. You want to look at spacing. Now, this one has like 3 different spacings on here. It says space between rows, seed spacing, but the spacing that you're interested in is spacing after thinning. So let's see, outdoors, this one says spacing after thinning 2 to 4 feet. 2 to 4 feet per tomato plant. For outdoors. Indoors, it says, hello, spacing after thinning. I know, I can't see. 3 feet. So you want a decent sized pot for this tomato. And then you can put a stake in the pot. This is an alpaca tomato. This is my favorite tomato in the world. It is the best sauce tomato. It grows so much more prolific than the Roma or the Amish paste, and it makes an amazing sauce. So that's my favorite tomato ever. It does vine up, so you can just put a stake right in the pot and then sort of tie it to the stake as it grows up. Again, so you want to look at your space if you have garden space outside, or if you're looking at pots inside. Now, I used to grow tomatoes in those big buckets. I just drilled holes in the bottom of the buckets, put some rocks, just like a layer of gravel, then topsoil, and then tomatoes. That's how I always grew tomatoes in those. The big buckets. I don't know how many gallons they are. I will look it up. I have the buckets. I still use them for other things. I'll go see. I'm sure they're labeled. But there's also those grow bags. I worry with those about moisture loss. But my neighbors and I when we're trading plants, we trade them in those grow bags. They're super easy. We also use them to trade harvested vegetables later on in the season. They're very handy. They have little handles. They're sturdy. They're nice. Back when I was growing tomatoes indoors, they did not exist. I don't know if I would grow something indoors with a grow bag, I feel like. But you put something underneath, yeah. So you want to look at what you use the most, how much space you have. If you're growing outside, you need to know your growing season. Last frost date minus first frost date. First frost date minus last frost date. First frost date is in the autumn. Last frost date is in the spring. And your growing zone. And if you have any individual questions on that, I absolutely love advising people about gardening. I'm sorry, this one, I took very detailed notes, proof, and I still rambled. But I'm getting there. You have a wonderful day. Happy gardening. Let me know if there's anything you want to see me talk about or not talk about. And go ahead and again, hopefully the next video is going to be at the Wikipedia YouTube channel. So yeah, have a great day.